Alright, and we are live. Today we're going to be going over just scuff sanding some paint. I've been working on refinishing this Ibanez 8-string for Johnny, and then I also have the back plate and neck for Johnny's 5-string bass. So I'm going to be working on these today. At the same time, I am going to be filming with my proper camera, so if it sounds like I'm doing commentary, that is the reason for that, because I am doing commentary. Alright. So basically, this video is going to be, well, this refinishing video is going to be coming out at some point. When I, get this entire thing finished up. It was per request that I actually make a tutorial on how to refinish a guitar at home. I've done the homebrew stuff before, but this is, I guess, a little bit different. I'm refinishing from a paint job to another paint job instead of refinishing from a paint job to a stain. There's a couple of things that I do differently. Alright. Okay, so now the first session of the paint is done, and we are going to do what is called scuff sanding. And with scuff sanding, you are basically, well, as per the name, scuffing up the surface just so that, well, you're scuffing up the surface just so that you have a little bit better contact for your next layer of paint. At this stage, you will want to use some wet and dry sandpaper, and I would recommend using like 400, 600 is nice. You don't need to worry about too much. You can use 400 grit, but 600 is usually what I go for. Well, I am out of 600, so I'm going to be doing this with 800 grit. Doesn't really matter, it's just going to take a little bit more time. Now, what you want to do is you want to have some water, you want to have your paper. For flat surfaces, you want to have a sanding block, maybe a couple of different ones. The reason why this says no is because this side is not flat, this side is. And then some tissue paper to clean things up as you go. So, starting off, and then just moving with little circles. Don't apply too much pressure. And the thing is, with scuff sanding, or wet sanding in general, on paint jobs and stuff, you'll be able to feel and hear the difference. Like there, you can hear that it is a bit smoother already in comparison to that. Alright? Always remember to clean things up so you can actually see what you're doing. Now the aim here is not to get a flat surface just yet, because you need to build up your paint job. Right now you're just working to get the sort of contact point for the next session of paint that you're going to be doing. Hi there, Ice Coffee Tones. For this one, I am using, I'm just going to clean this up real quick. I prefer to use Maston. Now, the reason why I use Maston is basically because the, what do you call this? The nozzle, yeah. The nozzle on the Maston cans provides a actual fan instead of like, sort of like spray, like fume. It has a steady fan, which makes it easy to kind of create an even layer. And you can now also change the direction of the fan. So you can either have it like this, or you can have it like that. So it's, I've found that it is actually a really, really good product. And the funny thing is that it's actually a little bit cheaper than other products, like for instance, like this standard type of paint that you would have, which has a nozzle that looks like this. Now, this is the type of nozzle that you usually have on rattle cans, and it just does a sort of like cone sort of spray, which is just well and fine, but you know, I prefer to get the fan because it gives me a little bit more I'm at a loss for words. It's easier for me to control. Yeah, black is one of the hardest, especially if you're doing like a glossy black. That is one of the hardest finishes to get right because it is merciless. It will show off all the scratches and all the impurities. And yeah, nicer spray pan, exactly. And then white is another one where it just shows all the impurities that you have. But I've been able to get actually a pretty good finish using rattle cans at home on my balcony. I did the Banshee a few years back, and that actually turned out to be really nice, all things considered. It's just, this is one of the reasons why I do these types of videos, because, you know, this is the type of finishing that people do at home, and I know what it takes to get a professional finish because that's, you know, technically that used to be my job. And yeah, just those little things. Yeah, I sprayed a white Rust-Oleum and the nozzle was terrible. Put out far thick spray. Turned out nicer after wet sanding and clearing though. Yep, that's the case. Usually, like the standard type of nozzles, they will give you a very thick coat of paint. And that's also one of the reasons why I like the Maskins, because you get a very thin layer, so it's a lot easier to control. I should point out that when you're doing scuff sanding, especially in the first layers or so, you don't need to worry about going through because you're going to be adding more paint. So if you do go through, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it too much. You're going to be building up the layers as you go. At this stage, of course, you want to avoid going through as much as possible, but if you do, don't stress about it too much. Okay. Move a little bit more over there. I'm going to get back to that in a bit. I usually like to work in quarters. So here, there, there, and there. And also using a block helps you eliminate the risk of going through. Now, you can already see that right here, it was a bit thinner. So that's where I need to concentrate on not going through in the future. But once again, not that bad if you do at this stage, because it is the first initial layer of paint. To get a good professional finish, the key ingredient is basically repetition. And I have also learned that basically if you're trying to be too careful about doing things, that's usually when you end up making a little bit more mistakes. Don't be afraid to, even at this stage, to go through, because then you'll be working toward getting things flat and, you know, getting the hang of it. It's better to kind of like work through the processes, get yourself feeling comfortable with what you're doing, and then move on to the next stages. Okay, in the back. Gonna do a little bit of a close-up here. Now hopefully you'll be able to see the difference. And don't apply downwards pressure at all. Let the sandpaper do the work. But hey, on the stream, how's everybody's Sunday going? Hope you're doing good. Fortunately, this has gone on pretty well. It looks like I've managed to get it pretty consistent all the way through. So getting it flat will not be an issue later on. Alright, nice to hear that you've had a good day so far. Hopefully it remains that way for the rest of the day. I need to switch over to a smaller block. But yeah, for those of you on the stream, or just kind of joining in, I am working on this 8-string Ibanez refinish for Johnny. It used to be a glossy white with a natural neck, and I am turning it completely satin black. And then later on, I'm going to also go through Johnny's base neck, which is going to be a glossy black with some purple detailing on it. Now for scoops and carves and stuff like that, if it feels like you're not getting, or if it looks like it's not really a flat surface, you can fold up your sandpaper so that it's tool, so 3-fold, and then use the flats of your fingers to do the same job. But once again, really not applying any pressure at all. I'm letting the sandpaper do all the work. If you do sand with your fingers like this, be very, very careful, because you're at a higher risk of going out of flat and actually putting waves into your paint job. So I mostly reserve finger sanding to the neck that has a curve, and anything that isn't really a flat surface that you can get a block onto. Turn off that camera for now. Don't need it right now. Need to take this down a bit. There. It's been a while since I've done some spray finishing at home this year. I think the last time I did was like January or something. And I sprayed Italy in Nacho Fiesta Red, and I was surprised I was able to buff and polish 2 days later. No wet sanding, no clear coat, and still looking great. Light relic finish. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm yet to actually play around with nitro all that much. Where I worked at, we didn't use nitro too much. There were a couple of things that we used it for, but mostly we always had polyurethane. So I'm kind of trained in doing poly and acrylic lacquer finishes. But I would be interested in trying nitro and seeing how that differs. I mean, it shouldn't be too different, but I guess mostly with, yeah, like you said, with wet sanding and everything else, there might be some differences. Not quite sure yet. Haven't tried it. Maybe one day. But mostly I usually prefer doing oil finishes with my own stuff. Granted, I know that there's, even in one of the production guitars right now, I will do a spray clear on it, just because it kind of calls for it, in my opinion. But we'll see, yeah, I like oil finishes. Yeah, that's mostly the case with a lot of things, where the cure time really depends a lot with brands. Did you use a proper spray gun to do that, and like a 2-pack nitro, or was it a rattle can nitro? And also, damn, your username is making me want to have coffee right now. I should go make some. Oh, aerosol can. Yeah. Maybe. I know that, like, one of my suppliers here in Finland actually has nitro cans. I should look into trying them out. I actually have one project where nitro could be the better option out of poly. So, interesting. Although I think I've been now, instead, I haven't used really poly, I've used acrylic-based clear coats on a lot of things while doing it at home. I primed and got it really clean before spraying the nitro. Once full can Fiesta did the job. Yeah, nice. I mean, it really depends. Some manufacturers, one can really is enough, and every single time that I've come across that, it's always been really surprising. But it's also very nice, because then you don't need to keep going back and buying more cans, especially if it's a little bit, more expensive of a can to use. I have a couple of finishing gigs coming up that will be using some new products for me, and I am very interested to see how they will go, because, yeah, let's just say pearlescent paints and some chroma coat. Interested to see how they work. But you didn't hear from me. Still very hush-hush. I guess. I don't know. Not very hush-hush in general. Just stuff that's coming up that's not really currently at a deadline or anything else. And paints haven't arrived or haven't actually been ordered yet, so there's still a while to go before I actually get to that. But when I do, I will definitely film a video for it, because I think it's an interesting type of finish. Alright, so that is now the body scuffed up. I need to actually film this properly. Okay, so that is the body now scuffed up. As you can see, it isn't completely flat, and that's not what we're aiming for, but it is uniform enough for the next layers of paint to stick a little bit better. Alright, now we're going to move on to the neck, which is a little bit different. Now for the flat of the neck, like the back of the headstock and the heel and everything else, we'll do the same way with just using a block, but a block will not work on the carve almost at all because, well, it's a carve. I should say it's a curve. So we're going to go back to using the flats of our fingers and then moving along the neck like this. I'm going to give you a better idea of that. Alright, so once again, as with the body and in general wet sanding, I'm applying almost no pressure at all to the sandpaper because I don't plan on going through at all. Small circles, same technique as used before, and you can hear and feel when you've gotten rid of that sort of burr of the previous layer of paint. Just easy does it. Once again, don't worry about taking off too much and being overly careful about this. If you go through, you go through. At this point, it is the first layer of paint, so you're not that much in trouble. And yes, I'm repeating a lot of the things because this is essentially what finishing is all about. You're repeating processes until you get to the final product that you're happy with. And then when you do, then there's a couple of things that you have to do a little bit differently in regards to wet and dry paper and how you sand things. I had a hard time spraying tangerine candy over silver metallic. Turned out a little blotchy, so went to relic with it. Yep, that's always one of those things that is very easy to do, where it's, oh, this is giving me kind of trouble, wet relic, and then just tell everybody that, you know, that was the intention all along. I meant to do relic. Relic was what I was going for. It makes you seem like you knew what you were doing there. But it's also a very easy way of fixing a paint job that you're not exactly getting right. Of course, if you don't like relic finishes, then just, you know, practice. Practice more and more. Yeah. In general, scuff sanding is a rather quick process. This is something that if I had more time today, I would go and spray new layers of paint on, but by the looks of it, I don't have enough time to do more layers today. So I'll have to paint more. I can't do anything tomorrow, so I'll be painting on Tuesday. And yes, I could use the block right here, but it is the heel, which goes in the neck pocket, so I'm just doing a very, very, very light scuff of the surface. Now, having said that I am on limited time today, that also means that I have limited time for the stream today. So this might end up being a little bit shorter because it is 10 till 2 and there's some previously arranged engagements that I have to get to today. Sides of the headstock, same way that you would kind of sand the sides of the headstock in general. So instead of using the flats of your fingers, I'm using the tips of my fingers. Because the side of the headstock, if I'm just going to use the flat of my finger, it is going to go over and it's going to break that edge. And that is something that I do not want at this point. Oh, speaking of edge. So the one thing that you want to steer clear of when you're doing scuff sanding and everything else, and especially when you're doing flat sanding, is edges. Because they will break through like that. And if you keep on focusing on that, you're just going to make it worse. Edges will need a bit more paint or clear coat or whatever you're putting on. And it is completely fine to let it kind of build up. In fact, that's kind of what you want to do before you start going anywhere near it. Yep, and then the back of the headstock is just this simple. And there we have it. We have scuff sanded the entire guitar, the body and the neck. And now we are ready to go and clean off all the water, make sure that it's nice and dry. And then we're ready to go and spray on the next session of paint. Let's go do that now. Now, on the stream, I know I said let's go do that now, but I'm not doing any painting on stream today at least. I am instead, because I was filming, so that was more for the filming side of things, saying that we're going to go do that today, because even though I'm spraying on Tuesday, I'm going to edit it together and it's going to look like I did it today. Thankfully, I'm okay with relic finish, and I had done an amber tint on the body in case I did have to relic, and for the future wear it through. Ah, there you go. Planning in advance. That's always a good thing to go for. Or having a backup plan to kind of fall back on in case you need to. So yeah, this is the back plate for Johnny's face. I'm steering clear of the edges there. That is done. It really doesn't need too much, and it is fairly thin, so I don't want to kind of overly saturate that either, just in case it starts to warp. So that would be a headache I don't need right now. Then for the neck for Johnny's face, working the flats down with a block. It has been really interesting making a headless guitar, or headless bass in this sense, because it is the first one that I've done, and it takes a little bit of thought to it. I mean, it's not that different, but it's just different enough for me to learn some new skills about design and working on things. Not having a headstock, of bridge placement, how to make it balanced, because you're losing that mass on the neck. Which in this case definitely is not the issue, because the neck is, oddly enough, fairly heavy. Like comparing this is a 5-string headless bass neck, and the Ibanez neck is an 8-string Ibanez neck. They're made of the same materials, but this one is a good bit heavier. Well, granted, it's a bit thicker, and it has epoxy, it has acrylic, and it has LEDs in it, so that kind of adds to the weight a lot. Alright, we are almost there. Now I'm already going to start saying that this stream is starting to come to an end, because I am reaching the end of what I had to do today, and I have, like I said, prior engagements to get to today. A little bit there, a little bit there, and I think that is indeed that. This neck still needs a good bit more paint, in my opinion. I need to get the heel joint there a little better. I'm also having some issues with the fact that I'm using 800 grit. I really would hope that I would have had 600, but I need to go buy some more. In general, my stash of sandpaper is running dangerously low, so I need to stack up on everything. Because not having the right kind of sandpaper is, you know, annoying, to say the least. But hey, I have now finished what I set out to do today, which is scuff sand everything. The neck is, or necks, both of them, are looking very good, very promising. Good start. There's still a good bit of finishing to go. But yeah, I'm happy. Thank you very much for watching. This was fun. I will get back to you guys next week for another video. Whether or not that is going to be a live stream or whether it's going to be an edited video, that I don't know yet, but we'll figure out when we get there. And thank you, Iced Coffee. I hope to see you again very soon. All right. Thank you, everybody who watched. Click like, subscribe, and see you guys next week. Bye.